Hello guys. We'll be starting soon. I'm just giving a few more minutes to all the other applicants to join us. So bear with me. Just a minute or two. Thank you. We'll wait another minute and then we'll start. Okay, sorry for you guys that are already in. I just want to give everybody the chance to join us. Hello guys. I'd like to start with a simple question. Think about your security program, your controls, your detection, how you would respond if something actually happened. And now think about what changed over the last 6 months out there in the wild, in the threat actors domain. How much of what changed is actually reflected in your program on your side? 6 months of data, December 25 through June 26. I'm David, Chief Product Strategy Officer at Codeblue Cyber. Threat intelligence, incident response, and our product direction is also sits under me. So, which means I spent most of my day answering one question. How big is the gap between the way organizations are built and the way attacks actually work today? And that gap is really what this session is all about today. So we have two big shifts happened in this period, not small updates, real structural shifts, and everything we'll cover today comes back to one of those two. First, Iran, Israel, and the US moved into open military conflict, and that changed both the pace and the goal of Iranian cyber activity. This isn't background noise anymore, it's wartime operation, and that changes the way how you should read everything coming out of this region. Second, and this one truly doesn't matter where you are. AI crossed the line, not the line where someone uses an LLM to write a better phishing email, the line where an AI agent runs 80 to 90% of the attack on its own, while human just points it as a gun and pull the trigger. And here's why they matter together. They both break the basic assumption your security program was built on. Most programs just haven't caught up yet. So let's see some numbers. In raw volume, Israel is the third most attacked country in the world, followed only by the US and the UK. But honestly, raw volume is the wrong lens here. And this really matters for how you make decisions.
Sorry, Dave.
Because,
Just if you can share
yes.
again the screen, the presentation, it disappeared.
Oh, sorry for that. Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, good. So, yeah, back to business. And Israel is third by raw volume, but if you take into consideration the amount of businesses here and the fact that 65% of Iranian cyber activity was aimed to Israel, it's gonna put Israel in the first place. The head of the INCD put the leaked amount of data from Israel alone in this past 6 months at around 2 petabytes. So, as I said, if you factor in intent and how concentrated it is, Israel isn't third, it's first. But for all of you guys who aren't in Israel, Iran isn't keeping this regional. For example, Stryker, which is a really big US medical technology company, had data wiped from hundreds of thousands of devices. And for example, the FBI director personal email got breached. This really isn't just Middle East story. So if you're making risk calls based on geography, saying, "Oh, we are not a primary target," that math has changed. So the biggest Iranian linked group in this period was Handala, and this last few months, the U.S. Department of Justice tied them to Iranian Ministry of Intelligence. So this is a state-run operation, not the independent hacktivist group they would like us to think about them. On the left side, you can see the real confirmed stuff, the Stryker attack, the FBI director breach, and on the right side, you can see some of Handala's claim to do things, which are basically fake news. For example, they claim to obtain 18 to 19 million Israeli citizens, a list of all of them, a database. And now Israel population is only 10 million people, so you don't need a high math degree to call us this bluff. But I'm not telling you this to play down the threat. I'm telling you this because being able to separate what actually confirmed and what is bad or fake news is a security skill itself. Okay, and in wartime or during crisis, this is one of the most valuable ones you've got. So the real question here is when a scary headline drops to your CEO and he calls you, and what is your process for telling them what's real and what isn't? Do you have a process like this? Okay, ransomware. Everybody heard about it, but the arena has changed. First half of 26, more than 4,700 victims posted, which means we have a lot more because a lot of the time they won't post you if you pay the ransom. But what have changed dramatically is the model. If sometimes groups, let's say like Akira, would have got into your systems, they would encrypt you, steal all the data, but they would have published nothing until they would start negotiating with you. So you would have grace period that you could negotiate and make sure that nothing has been published, so you won't have problems with regulators, with your customers, with your suppliers, etc. But last 6 months, the arena has changed. We can see about 10 groups controlling more than 70% of all of the attacks, and we've seen them more aggressive than ever. They would exfiltrate the data. They would publish that they have your data. They do not take the bother to encrypt you. They don't need to. So everybody knows that you've been hacked. The attacker has your information, and now that the real lever is publication. If I don't know, in the past we said, okay, I have backups. Backups protect you from downtime. They do not protect you from the call that says pay us or we publish. So you should take from here is how you are spending your budget between recovery and actually stopping data from leaving in the first place. Because having backups won't help you if the attackers have your data. I'll give you a case study, a really nice one. It pulls everything together. And honestly, I think this one I take to your next board meeting. A group called Shiny Hunters, they're highly aggressive, ran a campaign against Salesforce Experience Cloud that hit somewhere between 300 to 400 organizations. How did they do it? Misconfiguration in guest permissions, plus some voice phishing to grab SSO credentials. And the tool they used was Aura Inspector. It was a legit security tool or made by Mandiant. They just turned it into a weapon. So no CVEs, no product vulnerability, no zero-day. And the one thing almost every victim had in common, weak or missing MFA or zero or OAuth permissions, that they were too broad on their third-party integrations. So here is the board conversation. This attack doesn't need sophisticated nation-state threat actor. It just needs a misconfiguration and one employee who pick up the phone. The controls you should use to stop it, MFA, tighter permissions, they're not expensive, they just discipline. And the real question is whether that discipline is actually consistent across all of your SaaS or wherever there are some integrations that have permissions that nobody looked for in 2 years, for example. Well, in this example, Shiny Hunters was a human team running a manual campaign. Now imagine that same playbook, misconfigured permissions, credential theft, lateral movement, but fully automated machine speed against 30 targets at the same time. That would give us numbers, frightening numbers. The arena and the ability of the attackers today to act in high volume attacks is really different than the attacks we've known. And I want to be precise here because AI-powered attack has kind of become a phrase that means everything, and so it ends up meaning nothing. There are really three levels of AI use in attack. The first and basic one, everybody knows it, an attacker uses an LLM to write better phishing emails, to clean up the grammar, to do some translation, real, but nothing new. Second level, an AI built into the malware itself. So the AI make the decisions and calls the malware call the AI while it runs, and the malware asks the LLM what to do next. What is my next step? Where should I go? Should I go to the Active Directory? Should I go to the database or whatever? And level 3, as the actual operator, the human just set strategy and stepping in maybe 4 to 6 decision point, and the AI does all the rest. And so we've already at level 3. And I think in the next slide, I'll share with you a few attacks that and few crises that we've managed in the past few months on AI, not augmented, but AI-powered attacks. This is not a prediction. This is really what's going on today. And for you guys, you should consider if the cost of attacking your organization it's just dropped. If sometimes or in the past, threat actors should have utilize or use a lot of a good infrastructure and spend a lot of money. But now with the current models, it's basically nothing. Every kid could get it up and running, and the limit has fallen away. The limit of money has something that would get a threat actor or level, state level actor only the possibility to attack you, this limit has fallen away. So, how an orchestrated AI attack look like? So it begins with harvesting credentials, moving laterally, escalating privileges, all on its own, writing living off the land commands and extracting information, storing it, ranking it, doing everything by itself. And this gives us some frightening numbers. For example, the fastest breakout record for this period of time is 27 seconds, which means during 27 seconds, the threat actor or the AI was able to move from one station to the other, from the first station after he entered your organization. To put this in context, in 21, the average time was 98 minutes. In 24, 3 years afterwards, was about 48 minutes. And last year, it dropped to 29 minutes. Today, it's 27 seconds. This is a lot faster. And that means that all of your playbooks, when you took into consideration that you have time, you have proper time to detect and to react, everything is happening faster. 4 minutes to take all your data or to start taking out your data. This is not something that we've been talking about or that we use to build our playbooks by. And I think that the most incredible number that is here is 82% of the intrusions were malware free. That means everything you have that if you're looking for IOCs, if you're looking for signatures, 82% of the time, you will see nothing because they have valid credentials and built-in admin tools, no payloads. So if your detection is built mainly around spotting malicious code, you're looking at the wrong place for 82% of the time. And for the rest, 18%, let's talk about them. You have everything has changed. Although they use malware, but the malware is rewriting itself. Okay, it's changing how it acts within your system. For example, we had an incident, I think 2 months ago. We have investigated an environment with about 600 stations, and the malware was rewriting itself every time it hopped to the next station, which means we had 600 versions of the malware. This is not something you can write a Yara rule or to look for an IOC or to look for the signature. You need to look for something else. You need to do something else because it is changing, it is evolving. While you are investigating, it is evolving and it is infecting you with other signatures. So we should adjust our capabilities to meet these polymorphic malwares. One more angle about AI, and this is the gap I see most often when I look at how organizations set up their security programs. In March 26, a group compromised the GitHub repositories of a very popular open source light LLM. I think some of you have heard of it. And they planted a credential stealer that grabs AWS keys and the GitHub tokens straight up from the CI/CD environments. And those keys got sold to ransomware group. A month later, a startup got breached through a single dependency on light LLM. One library, one point of failure. So the question I'd put your team is, do you have an inventory of the AI components your developers are pulling in? And I don't mean AI products your company bought, but I mean all the libraries and dependencies your engineers added last quarter. In most organizations I look at, the answer is no, which means there is an attack surface that isn't anywhere in your risk register, and you're not controlling it. Last point on AI, and this one has the most direct board implication. AI agent with a valid long-lived token is basically privileged insider that has a legit reason to be working every single day. It doesn't trip your behavior alerts because its behavior looks normal by design. Actually, they showed that against Microsoft 365 and Slack AI, they have just sent an email, a well-crafted email that the AI agents just gave away your data or the organization data. They convinced them to give data with zero human interaction, no clicks, no attachment. The user never saw it. And by Cisco found out that 71% of the organization run AI agents without full oversight. So the governance question is pretty simple. Your privileged access program covers your human admins. Does it cover your AI agents? Because if you rolled out Copilot or any agentic AI tools and you haven't applied the same governance you'd use for your privileged human accounts, then you've got an unmanaged insider with access to all of your most sensitive data. And most organizations, they didn't take care of it. So I've tried here to show the paradigm of defense, the new paradigm of defense against the old paradigm of defense. Up until now, all of us, okay, what we have done, we built stronger walls and we dug a deeper moat around the organization, and we used IOCs and we looked for signatures, and we've done anything that we can, and we spent a lot of money to make sure that the threat actor will stay outside. But the picture has changed. We are no longer can rely on the fact that we can leave the threat actor outside. The new paradigm should be, we have been breached. The threat actor is inside, and we should hunt him. We should hunt and look for the threat actor. So we should live the whole time in a continuous incident response state, which means we are not looking for IOCs or signatures. We are not looking with the static Yara rules. We are looking for TTPs. We are looking on anomalies inside the network, and you should be able to deploy agents or to do the things you should to look for a threat actor 24/7 in your systems. If you will not assume breach, this would be this might be a very lead to a very bad outcome in the end, because as you see, in 82% of the attacks, they had no IOCs. So one quick word about regulation in the past 6 months. Well, the regulator has joined in and is on the field, and he's on the offensive now. NIS2, well, they have started to actively enforce, and that's not just as I think the most frightening thing about NIS2 for us is there's personal liability for management. So it isn't just a company risk, it's a personal risk for the CISO and for the board members. And also DORA moved into active supervision, and we should all take into considerations that the map have changed. We are not, they will not just ask for answers If you may give us or explain to us how did it happen, they have teeth now. And for everyone here outside of the EU, if you sell or supply European organization, you are in scope. It doesn't, you don't have to be or to work in the EU. You don't need to have physical presence there. The supply chains clause pulls you in. So the practical point here, your 24 to 72 hours incident response process needs to exist and to be tested before you're under pressure to use it. Because if you're gonna test it and you're gonna look at it only when something happened, I assure you, you will be neglecting some of the things you must answer to the regulator. So do test your protocols. Okay, we are towards the end, and I'm gonna give you 5 decisions. This is not a checklist of controls, but 5 decisions that every one of you should take. First one, okay, identity comes first. On every admin service, on every SaaS integration, OAuth permissions, keep it on the least privilege. It is the single control that would have stopped or at least seriously limited shiny hunters, the example we showed you before. So the decision is this consistent everywhere? You should look everywhere, all across your organization and SaaS, and look for the anomalies, look for the places that this is not managed properly. 2, edge visibility. Patch your internet-facing edge gear first. Okay, retire end-of-life stuff. We haven't discussed it yet, but there's a lot of attacks that start with end-of-life gear or with internet-facing gear that was not patched. And if you take into consideration that CISA has a backlog of, I don't know, about 3 years, some will say 4 years. So if you have only a KEV program for patching and closing all the vulnerabilities, you need to find something else. You need another source of truth for edge exploitation. Don't rely only on KEVs, okay? 3, and I think this is one of the most important, detection. Static signatures and IOCs are losing value against AI-generated shape-shifting malwares and malware that are free from, or intrusions that are malware-free. You should find that your budget you have to split it wisely and to see how you treat IOCs as signature and that you're not neglecting the other side, which is the TTPs. Okay, look for behavioral based and not signature based. And most of the time, you will see 80% of the budget goes to detection of signatures and IOCs, and only 20% goes to behavior based. But the threat actor has and the landscape has changed, and so your budget should be. The last 2 is treat data theft as the main risk. Backups protect you from downtime. They do not protect you from the extortion call. And the decision you should take is how much you're spending split between recovery and actually preventing data from leaving. Because in most cases, you will see that we are all putting all our money on recovery, and we are not putting enough money on preventing data leaving our premises. And AI governance, okay, your AI agent are privileged account. They have access to everything. So you should take into consideration and decide how to govern these privileged account. Least privileges, approval gate, behavioral monitoring, okay? whatever you're doing with your human privileged account, you should do on your AI agents. One more thing, and I saved this one for the last because I think this is the most underrated security control in this entire briefing. And it's less about technology, but more about how you lead, okay, as a leader. In wartime and in crises, attacker publications are a cognitive weapon. Volume, timing, claims, all the claims that keep escalating. This is all designed to create urgency that override your judgment, to get you reacting on their tempo instead of your own tempo, and what's good to you and your company. So when a headline drops and your CEO calls, is this us? Are we affected? Should we say something? What's your process for getting a verified answer fast? How long does it take you to get them from noise to signal? That process belongs into your IR playbook. It should be practiced before you actually need it. And same goes with AI-generated threat intelligence. If your SOC provider is feeding attacker-claimed data into your an AI summarization tool with no verification layer, so you've just automated the exact pressure that they are trying to put on you. So finally, the gap that I spend most of the time thinking about, on the left-hand side, you see what most security programs were built for, okay? And on the right side is what should be today. The organization that closing the gap right now is the one that will be prepared for the next period of time. And the one that and the organization that aren't, they are already out of date. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this because this gap is real, it's measurable, and it's closable as long as you know where to look. And I would like to close with the same question I opened with, because I think this is the single most useful thing you can take out from this session. Think about your security program, your controls, your detection, your AI posture, and how you govern your AI tools, your edge inventory, and your data theft prevention. Now think about everything that have changed out there in the last 6 months. How much of what have changed is actually reflected in your program? That's the conversation worth having with your team and your board. All you guys asking, we'll send a link with the full report to everyone who have registered, and we also include this presentation. I'll be happy to go deeply with any of these topics in one-on-one. Thank you very much, and let's open it up for questions. Okay, we have a few questions. Okay, there's a question from Matt. Hi, Matt. Matt is asking, okay, you mentioned that 82% of intrusions are malware-free. If I go back to my team tomorrow and I want to measure how exposed, what's the first thing I should actually check? Okay, good question. Well, first thing, look at your detection coverage split. Okay, take your SIEM or EDR rules, and break them apart. Okay, categorize them. How much fire on signature or IOCs, and how much fire on behavior? I would bet that it would be about 20-80 in favor of signatures, which means 80% of your detection budget is turned for the 18% of the attacks. Second thing you can do, this is even faster. check your identity layer. How many service accounts have interactive login enabled? How many OAuth tokens for SaaS integrations were generated more than 12 months ago and never reviewed? I think that these two doors are doors that malware-free attackers walk right through. And you can do both. You can check both of them this week. Neither requires new product nor money. Okay, I see another question about, yeah, okay. This is from Boris, and he is asking, you talked about separating verified intelligence from attacker claims. So practically, when a headline drops at my CEO and my CEO calls, what's good enough to act on looks like. Okay, let's say when CEO calls you, guys, they need one of three answers. We are affected, and here's what we're doing. We are not affected, and here's why we know. Or we don't know yet, and here's when we will. Anything else creates confusion. Okay? So only three acceptable answers for your CEO. But before you say anything, externally or even internally, above a certain level, you need at least one independent source beyond the attacker's claim. That's the minimum bar. We talked about the Handala. Okay, in the Handala, they claim to have 18 million Israeli records. Israel has 10 million people, so that's a 5-second sanity check. Okay, but a lot of SOCs don't have. They don't check the info because it was a claim from threat actors. So the thing I would recommend you to do. Take one of your people, one of your team people, okay, as a verification point for breaking events. Don't take the fastest responder, but the most skeptical one. And give that person an explicit authority to say, we don't have enough to act on yet. Even when there's pressure to say something, that 30 minutes that you will invest in checking your information and doing the action you should to have a verified intelligence, this can save you from wrong public statement that can take weeks or just to get you out of that rabbit hole that you dug. Yeah. I see a question from Hawaii. How do you see the landscape of exploitation hacking would affect to small, medium businesses? Okay, so the question basically is how a small and medium business with a minimal budget can deal with AI threats or AI-generated attacks. I think that if you cover your basics and you keep good sanitation, you would be like 50% ready because because you're a small, medium to small business, you have better control about what is facing the internet and what is exposed out there. And it's really different from big organizations that they have all sorts of surprises. They can wake up in the morning and find out they have a new test environment that the DevOps have opened to the world. And but small organization, SMBs, you have better control on internet-facing edge equipment. And you should also make sure that your EDR and XDR, EDR is not expensive, and you should spend a little bit of money on having a proper EDR with good TTPs rule. Don't just go and stick to IOCs and patch management. Patch your systems always. Yeah, there are a few more questions, guys. I think part of those questions I'll send you an email with my answers, and you can also contact me directly or contact us if you would like to know more, because people are asking me about what is a CIR and how to act on assumed breach, because assumed breach it's a pretty new method to think about and to act with. And we in CodeBlue, we do have some things that we can suggest you, or we have the ability to monitor your landscape and monitor your organization from the inside, and to actively look for the threat actor inside the organization. But guys, if you need some more data or anything, you can contact us. You've got the mail here, and you can contact me as well. Yeah, and that would be all for today, guys. I'd like to thank you for joining me today, and we will send you, as promised, their presentation and the whole article, which has a lot more data. Thank you very much, and have a pleasant evening or day.